Welcome to Fueling the Future, Convenience Retail Insights with your host, industry veteran John Lofstock. Brought to you by Ignite Retail, the most intelligent retail technology on the planet. C-store experts, thought leaders, and trailblazers will be interviewed to serve up conveniently snack-sized, actionable insights and strategies that will accelerate your success and prepare you for the challenges and opportunities facing our industry. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Convenience Retail Insights. I'm John Lofstock, and I am proud to be joined today by an old friend, Terry Monroe. Terry is the founder and CEO of American Business Brokers. How are you, Terry?
I'm doing great, John. Great to talk to you today.
Yeah, great to talk to you. I always appreciate your insights and getting all the knowledge that you have from having your eyes and ears on the ground of what's going on in the industry.
Well, thank you.
So, Terry, you and I were talking a little bit about valuations of companies and some of the things retailers can do to increase the values of their companies. With times being the way they are right now, I'm not exactly sure how multiples are, if retailers are happy with what they're getting when they look to sell or they look to get a valuation on their company. But throughout our conversation, we kept coming back to food service. So I figured let me get Terry on a podcast. We could talk a little bit about how a good food service program drives the valuation of a convenience store business.
Yeah, that's a crucial part of it. As you and I talked about before, it appears that, that food service is where it's going in the convenience store industry. And I had to note, especially since the pandemic was somewhat of a blessing for convenience stores because all their competitors got shut down. A lot of restaurants got shut down. The only thing is open was grocery stores and convenience stores, which drove people to C-stores, which allowed them to say, hey, this is a pretty good experience, places they never went before. And it helped people for the credibility fact, but then they also realized that they needed to upgrade into more products and services that their customers wanted. And food service is, as mentioned, is where it's going. However, and that's where you and I was discussing on this. There's the big players, the Wawas, the Sheets, the Quick Trips that do an excellent job of food service. But let's keep in mind, they've got hundreds and hundreds of stores and they've got dedicated food service people. They've got their operations down to an art. And so it's going to be extremely hard for the normal convenience store guy. It's got 5, 10, maybe 15 stores to emulate what the big boys are doing. But that's another profit center. So therefore, that's going to contribute to the bottom line, which is going to increase the overall value of the business. I believe the convenience store business has long legs on it, a long horizon. And if you stand back as I am as a third party, I look at it as convenience store is a nice building, box, as you may want to say. But the products and services that they've been selling for years has just been morphing and changing into different things. It used to be, it was, what do they say, smokes and cokes. And then the monster drinks and all the power drinks came in and things evolved. And now in the food service.
And that is definitely one of the problem with, you mentioned COVID and the pandemic. Since the pandemic, things like mobile apps have taken off, third-party delivery has taken off, ordering online has taken off. So if you were just relying on Cokes and Smokes in the past, that's still a great hook. However, your customers can now, just on their phone, have the whole market at their fingertips. They can get it all delivered to their house in 30 minutes. So
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, so you really need to up your game in order to keep to keep consistent sales.
You do. And when I visit hundreds of convenience stores all over the country, because that's what I do. I'm talking to clients and prospective individuals that are thinking about maybe exiting the business, and I see a lot of stores. So therefore, seeing these stores, a lot of people treat food service as a secondary type of industry, that they're not into food. They don't have a food manager. It's a roller grill, maybe a few hot dogs and some Lancashire sandwiches. Nothing wrong with that if that's what your customer wants. We always have to go back to the customer. But if you want to help to make it a destination, for your store, you do need to upgrade it. So I'll back up here. You can't emulate the large multi 800, 700 store guys. They've already passed another game. So you've got a choice. You got three choices. One, you don't do food service. Two, maybe you do food service badly. Or number three, you go to a franchise product, which a lot of them do with the Chester's chicken and some other items like a Piccadilly pizza or whatever. Or you go to a franchise itself like an Arby's or Dairy Queen, Subway. And when you do that, you are buying into national, international brand recognition, which helps to create your store to be a destination. I'm a big believer in these franchised operations, having owned many of them and worked with them. I would very much push people into that arena because one of my things is I see too often where they get involved and they say, okay, this is my sales clerk and this is the guy and this is my food program. Oh, by the way, the sales clerk and the food clerk can both do both. I'll save money. And that, on paper, that is a fabulous idea. In operations, though, I believe you have a food brain and you have a clerk brain. And it makes it very difficult to combine these two together. 7-Eleven has tried it. They do an okay job with it. But if you really want to do good in food service, increase the value of your store, you need to get dedicated people into this situation.
Absolutely. And that was one of the trends that I started to notice was that a lot of C stores that really wanted to up their food service game were hiring. They had a manager, but then they created a position of a general manager over the manager in the store who typically had either a white tablecloth restaurant background or a fast food service, fast food chain background. And what that does is it changes the mentality. Instead of looking at the store from a C store perspective, they're looking at how everything relates to food service, how the cleanliness of the restrooms, how the cleanliness of the shelves, how out of stocks and empty shelves all lends to a better food service shopping experience. No one wants to shop at a store that's dirty. It's much less buy a sandwich at a store that's dirty.
And I was in the food service business. I've owned 32 restaurants, fast food restaurants. And I was so naive, what I did not understand, that when I thought I had a restaurant. That's true, I did. But when you're in food service, you're really in the manufacturing business. And I didn't think about that because you're manufacturing these sandwiches, these wraps, these bowls, or whatever the product may be. So now I've got quality issues, cleanliness issues, presentation issues to my customer. And it pays off dramatically. That in a Quick Trip with a K, I'm working a lot in Wisconsin, do a wonderful job. They have a bakery area, they have a soup area, and the feel of it helps flow into the customer. And of course, now they're buying everything else in there too.
Absolutely. And the when we talk about top quartile retailers, the Sheetz, the Wawas, Rudders, all of those folks that make the food in front of you, they have the kiosks. You can actually watch them make the food. A lot of it is probably, pre-made, the chicken and everything is pre-sliced and pre-made. But watching the assembly, it really gives you a good feeling that you're getting a warm, fresh sandwich or a warm, fresh bowl.
And you're becoming a destination now. Back to the pandemic. They gave us a break on that. It sounds terrible to say that with a pandemic, but it drove people to the convenience store industry into these stores. And the ones that were ready for it gave that good presentation. And people said, wow, I never thought about a convenience store, And of course, I eat in convenience stores, but I'm traveling to them all the time, so I don't count. But it can be done well.
Now, I want to tie this back to, what your bread and butter, and that is increasing the value of your business. We're in this industry. We're here to make money. And having a food service program makes your stores more profitable. It makes your company more profitable. It makes you a better retailer. And it's got to help the overall valuation of your company.
Correct. It does. It's another profit center.
Mm-hmm.
So think about this. In any industry, as it matures, whether it's the insurance industry, tobacco industry, pop, soda industry, the margins decline. If you look in the history of this. So what's a convenience store? It's a collection of all these multiple products I just mentioned. And so unless you don't have any competition, your margins are declining. So you got to get another product in there or service that has a good profit margin. Food is one of those items. If it's handled properly, you will get good profit margins from them, not counting the ancillary sales that you're going to get. I talked to convenience store owners that have a McDonald's. Some people have turned them away, but they're a draw. Mm-hmm. And so the inside sales of their stores are doing dramatically, much better than normals.
And one of the things to start taking to consideration is if you are a heavy fuel, if your emphasis is heavily on fuel, as electric cars, and you may have whatever your opinion is on which way electric cars are going to go, as they gain more traction in the industry, that's going to mean fewer visits to a convenience store. And it may be, I've heard from John Eichberger at the Fuels Institute, we could be 25, 30 years away. And I hear other people who say in their market, they're, 5 or 10 years away from just having, half the cars on the road being electric. I don't know the answer. I'm not going to pretend to know the answer, but I do know that more electric cars potentially means less fuel customers. Less fuel customers means less inside sales.
What was the fuel to begin with? The fuel was the original hook.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back. And you're right. You're seeing these people there. Everybody's still traveling. There's going to be more people traveling. It's exponential. It's going to happen. And even if you get to the battery life of cars, 300, 400, 500 miles, people still stop. They go to the bathroom. They want a snack. They want a break. And so what are you going to be presenting them? It's sad when I get the calls from people that are wanting to exit the industry that never did keep up with the industry, adding the food service, adding the places for people to rest and get a break and with electric cars. Mm-hmm. And so then they wonder why they're wanting to exit the industry. Well, they waited too long to just stay with the program.
It's a great point. I don't think I've ever asked you this question, so let me put you a little bit on the spot here. What percentage of your calls are from people who wake up and have their, excuse the term, but their oh crap moment? Sheets, Wawa, and GetGo are moving into my market, and I don't have a food service program, versus people who say, I'm killing it right now. This is a good time to make my money and exit the industry.
I would say it's probably about 60% of the people that wake up at the old crap moment. Either I don't have anybody that succession plan,
sure.
or I waited too long and I saw the competition coming. I knew it was, but I decided just to ride this horse and milk it and see how long I could get. And the future always comes faster than what they anticipated. Mm-hmm. It's a great question you asked. And so those are the calls I didn't get a chance to get in front of them. If I can get in front of somebody a year, 2 years, even 3 years, I can coach them as to what to do. My business takes years to develop this, but it's sad when you see that. And I'm going to beat up on men. One of my books, the editor wouldn't print it because I was being too harsh on men. Men, I have a tendency to ride the horse too long, and they wait too long to pull the trigger, and that it gets the business gets ahead of them on a downhill slope. So,
well, just in terms of your field, a multiple, a 3 multiple or a 6 multiple could be hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars versus a 3 multiple.
Yes. Yeah.
And once that train leaves the station, it's gone.
I was with a client just 2 days ago, and they said the same thing. I can't believe we sold, that we was making money, everything was trending right. We were doing better than we ever did in our life, and we sold. Well, that's when you're supposed to, when it's trending in the right direction. You don't want to call us when it's on its way downhill so doggone fast you can't stop it, and then want to get top dollar. It's just the way the market rolls.
So you're kind of agnostic when it comes to food service, right? I mean, you mentioned you like the brands, you like the partnerships. If you can build it from the ground up, that's good as well. Does it matter in your field? Does the multiple matter? Do people put more a greater emphasis on purchasing properties that have national brands, or do they like the companies that are doing it well, proprietary? And again, doing it well makes a big difference. I'm not talking about having a big menu and just trying to please everybody. I'm talking about couple of good items and really killing it on the food service side.
I'm going to back up just a little bit on that, because the smart operators know they're not any good at food. And they just admit it. They say, okay, I'm not good at food. I'm building this new store. I'm going to build inside the store or next to the store a space that I can maybe even lease it out to a real food operator, a Jimmy John's franchise, a Dairy Queen franchise, Arby's, like I said, any of these, because that's what they do. And they're good at it. And this is a personal opinion. They'll say, I don't want to get into it. I just don't like doing it. And so that's very wise on their part. Therefore, I've got a revenue stream from rent that goes into the bottom line, the EBITDA, as that profit center. And so as an acquirer, that's a no-brainer. I'm getting $85,000 a year rent from this person and from McDonald's, and we don't have to mess around with food. And this is we can focus on what we do and enjoy. The people that do food service a lot of times think they're doing it well, but if Joe Smith leaves, can I keep that food service going the way they were doing it? Were they all relatives? Did they, and here's the next thing. Is that in-house food service scalable? There's the big question. There's where people get caught with their pants down. You may be good at one or two stores, but is it scalable? There's where the national franchises come in. They've got it down to an art. And that's where the big players have it too.
And that is so frustrating. That's why some of these concepts that have on the national chains that have limited menus run into problems. I'm a big believer that if you have a chain and you do food service or you do something really good at one store, it needs to be scalable so that your other stores are doing it well, because those customers travel, like you said earlier.
Yes.
And when they go to that store, if they come to your store and they get your non-fat Frappuccino, and they go and they pull off to another store and that store doesn't sell it, you're going to piss them off and they're going to hold it against you.
Yes. And my family makes fun of me. I'm a McDonald's guy. I eat McDonald's all the time. But you know what? The cheeseburger tastes the same in Fargo, North Dakota, as it does in Fort Myers, Florida, as it does in Cincinnati. I don't want any surprises. And it's consistency is what it boils down to. And that's what the traveler wants. Now, if you got one store and you're servicing a 5-mile radius or 10-mile radius, hey, go to it. Have Jenny's, grab and go in there, whatever you want to do. But it depends what your future in your business is.
Yeah, Starbucks is legendary for that. In every market they go in, they have a water filtration system that kind of removes all the particles and the elements from the water, and then they add in their own proprietary brand. That's why every cup of Starbucks tastes exactly the same in every Starbucks in the country.
No surprises. I was taught surprises are only good for birthdays and Christmas.
So when you are working with acquirers, is this what they're looking at? What are they saying to you? I want to make sure if they we talk about profit centers. They want a loyalty program. They want a food program.
Yes.
Okay. So are they willing to pay more for this kind of stuff?
Yes. Yeah, because they're sometimes, if they are already in food service and have a strong food service, John, then they'll look for something that does not, because that'd be their upside. We can add food service because we're good at it. That's very rare though. Most of the people I work with are saying, great, they've already got food service in place. This just makes it another profit center. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. So it is a plus.
You mentioned 7-Eleven, and they acquired the Stripe store. So you start to see Laredo Taco now at various 7-Eleven stores. I know at our NAG conference in California, we visited a 7-Eleven that had a Laredo Taco to go offering, where they were making the food in front of you and expanding the menu a little bit, which is new for them. I don't think it's rolled out on a wide scale, but that's recognizing that they own this brand and they want to make it scalable.
Yes.
I mentioned the loyalty program. So is that like food service to you? Do you see loyalty programs and implementation of new technology as something that is of interest to acquirers?
Yes. It just kills me to see people that have not embraced loyalty programs when it's an automatic with all the apps, and people are expecting it now. I can't mention the major oil company I just sold 2 months ago. And there's another major oil company. Both of them have loyalty programs. One's pretty lame. The other one they think is great, but they don't know any different until they need to find out, explore and research. The customer is expecting the loyalty program. And to me, that's the low-hanging fruit. You're silly not to be doing that. So acquirers would like that because some acquirers are consolidators. Some of them are going to keep the stores forever, but not that many people are into the long horizon thing anymore. There's few and far between. They're trying to grow their profitability. Maybe they've got a family that they've got to keep acquiring to feed the family. A lot of that happens. But no, to answer your question, the loyalty program is a good profit center that will help draw people and retain those customers.
It's a data play. You get quite a bit of data on your customer. You can communicate to them. You can digital and e-couponing and ultimately reward them for their loyalty. I wonder why there are some big chains out there that do not have a loyalty program, but it seems to grow the value of the business.
It amazes me why people don't.
All right. So now we were talking about profit centers, and what is food service, which is a mature industry, but it's still kind of new to C-stores, and new technology, AI, all that stuff is coming in. But let me put you on the spot. What are some of the other perhaps overlooked profit centers or areas that C-stores can invest in that will help the valuation of their company?
Well, I'm going to give you a backwards answer on that. It depends, and this is where I think there's a fall down. When I owned stores, like I said, I had 32 restaurants. That's 32 different marketplaces. And I would have to go backwards in each marketplace to see who my market customer is. And if I'm in a Hispanic area, it's one thing. If I'm in a Jimbo area and another one, my products offerings were different. Like you mentioned 7-Eleven and Laredo. So it really, you go back to your customers. If I'm in Southern Illinois, as opposed to New York, it's going to be totally different. The main profit center right now, you can go into the cooler and put different profit centers in there. That's easy. And I've seen other people it's like the old Stuckey's concept. I'm going to sidebar here just a little bit on this. They sell trash and trinkets, the blankets, Indian blankets. They sell the pocket knives. They sell little wooden chit-chats and what it is. They're hugely profitable. They've invested an entire division to this. And I don't know why more people don't do it. Stuckey's big thing was, I'm dating myself, John.
Well, Cracker Barrel does the same thing right now.
Because the markup on these products is tremendous. I've got one operator that I work with, and he just does a phenomenal job. And he does it in special lighted cases, and a lot of this stuff just sits out in front of the store. I'm shocked why more people haven't embraced that. It's trash and trinkets. That's the word I was trying to think of, and it sells.
It absolutely sells. So if I'm thinking about selling my business, and we know folks that are talking about getting out of the business, we hear the rumors all the time. And I come to you, what's the first thing you do? What's the first thing someone who wants to sell their chain or their single store should be doing in order to make it more attractive?
Oh, that's easy. First thing I do is I say, well, you know what? Let's find out what it's worth. And they say, well, I know. And I said, no, you don't know, and I don't know either. What you're really trying to accomplish is you're on an informational seeking journey. Let me provide you with the information. That's what's going on in the market, because I do. I have my thumb on this. This is what I do every day. I can tell you real close what I think this thing is going to sell for. And I don't charge for it. That's so weird. They say, well, we want to pay. No, you don't need to pay me. We do this all the time. I've got analysts. We got the system set up. We can come real close to what it's worth. Now that you've got this information, please take it back, talk to your wife, talk to your family, and think about it, because you're going to need to know what it's worth to begin with. And then you're going to need to talk to your accountant after me and you talk, so that you can say, how much do I get to put in my pocket? That's what it's all about. unless you're in a real dire situation. But I'm an information person is what I am.
Oh, I bet you. I'd love to hear some of those conversations, because how many people overvalue their company?
Oh, we all do. Everybody thinks their stuff worth more. And I'm not here. And a lot of times I've seen people, I'd say probably 40% of the time I see people leave money on the table because
that's worse.
It's worse because they've read it in a publication. They've heard their buddies say it. Somebody else told them this too. So therefore, that must be what it's worth. But the EBITDA, I read in the report about EBITDA. No, you don't have all the information, my friend. You need to get it all.
So how can people get in touch with you, Terry, if they're interested in getting a valuation of their business?
Oh, it's real difficult. It's terrymonroe.com.
There you go.
It's Terry at terrymonroe.com. I'm a very simple person, John, with a simple mindset.
A simple mindset with how many hundreds of millions of dollars in sales on your under your belt?
I think we just crossed the $1 billion line.
Oh,
I've talked to thousands of people.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Well, good. All right. So any closing words for our listeners, Terry?
To your point, I think people should always be trying to find out what their business is worth. Most people know what their home's worth. They know what their cars are worth. But the biggest asset they own is the business that feeds them. And it is willy-nilly. And you don't have to be wanting to sell it. You just need to know. Somebody may come and give you a big offer.
And also the other reason why you need to speak with Terry is for this conversation we're having right now, to understand what the potential opportunities are in terms of profit centers and investments to build that valuation. So when the time does come to sell, that you're ready.
Yes. Well, thank you. That's correct.
Well, good. See that? Now I get any sale that comes out of this podcast, I get what, 10%? 5%? There we go.
Yeah.
10. All right. So if you're thinking about selling your company, call me, not Terry, and
That's
I will
right.
connect. Well, good. I always learn a lot when I speak with you, Terry. I really do, and I appreciate your insights in the markets. I know you travel all over the country. This man is never home. He travels all the time. He's not even home right now. He's away from home. So your insights, and I look forward to our conversations where you just bring me up to speed on some of the trends you're seeing in the marketplace. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. Anytime. I always enjoy talking to you. Appreciate it.
Well, good. So for Terry Monroe, I'm John Lofstock. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Convenience Retail Insights podcast. I hope everyone has a great afternoon and that we get to speak to you or you tune in to a future convenience retailing podcast. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thanks for joining Fueling the Future, Convenience Retail Insights with John Lofstock. Tune in next time for more snack-sized nuggets of retail insights to get your business booming.